Welcome, friends. We're going to let folks come in for a couple minutes as per usual. Give time for the busy folks and folks that didn't tag their link ahead of time, like I generally don't do, to time to find it, and then we'll get started. Welcome, folks. I hope everyone is enjoying some nice spring weather. Spring is finally starting to maybe appear in Pittsburgh. It's sunny today for the first time in I don't know how long. Lisa, that's a great suggestion. I will make sure that we look at our process and try to send that to folks in advance, maybe on the day of or a different way. It's hard because we never know. I don't know how it's functioning for attendees because, of course, my email is associated with the host, so I don't see it the way other people do. So I really appreciate that information. And I believe that after each webinar, we send out a survey asking what you thought of the webinar. And if you have suggestions for future topics you'd like to see, you can also, and we'd love for people to fill that out so we know what you're interested in learning about. But you can also give us information like that so we can make sure that the process is workable for everyone. Welcome, everyone. We'll give it another minute or two for people to find their links. Please feel free as you come in to drop your name and location or organization into the chat. I was just saying before folks got on, it is a beautiful sunny day here in Pittsburgh. I think the last 6 webinars we've done, the weather has been terrible. It has been a really brutally rainy spring here in Pittsburgh. So welcome, everyone. Rain in Atlanta. That's a turn. Normally it's very nice in Atlanta while it's terrible here. So I'm sure it's heading our way. Don't forget, drop your name and your organization or location into the chat. It's always nice to see who's here. We'll give it another minute before we get started. I see some familiar friends. Welcome, everyone. Hi, Armand. Nice to see you. Wow, 3 inches of rain and 80-mile-per-hour winds in Austin last night. It's been a bad spring here too. I think the weather just it's not a good year. We've had tornadoes repeatedly here, which is kind of rare. Welcome, folks. All right. We'll give it one more minute. Wow. All right. I'll tell you the horror story of the spring is that Diane was out of power for what, 10 days? Yeah,
10 days.
10 days after one of the terrible storms we got. We had whole neighborhoods out for almost a week, and Diane was one of the last folks to be reconnected to power. Just terrible. Welcome, everyone. All right. Well, with that, I am going to get us started. And welcome. We are talking about marketing must-haves today with Diane Walter, not Michelle Sandage. We cannot figure out how to change that, which is very funny, especially for this webinar. We're going to have Diane, who has a long and really rich career in marketing, and has worked for organizations that are very well resourced as well as those that are not. And she's going to talk to us about, what to do What is critical for marketing, even if you don't have a lot of budget or a lot of staff? How can you wring the most out of your marketing program? Next slide. As a few reminders, as always, please, if you have questions as you go, please drop them into the Q&A. Sometimes the chat scrolls by really fast and we will miss them. So make sure you put it in the Q&A. We are recording the webinar. We will be sharing that out afterwards. So if you miss something, you can go back and take a look at it, or you can share it with colleagues. And at the end of the webinar, we'll provide links to either request a follow-up meeting or sign up for the next webinar. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Diane.
Hey there. Nice to see everybody. Thank you for coming out. One more thing, the next webinar for June is going to be about volunteers and board members and creating a strong group of those folks. So information to sign up for that will be included on the website soon and may be included in the follow-up email that comes out today. So I'm Diane Walter. Nice to meet you. I'm the director of marketing here at Food Rescue Hero. I have a lot of love for this mission. I've been a volunteer for 412 Food Rescue for about a decade and have really enjoyed watching the organization grow into the big network that it is now and to be a part of that story. And I love talking about marketing. And today we're going to talk about marketing basics. A lot of the folks that I talk to who are joining our network or thinking about joining our network, the first thing I hear is, I don't have time for marketing. It's just me, or it's me and one other human. And whether you're starting a food rescue or any other organization, marketing is always critical because if you build it, they will come is kind of a fallacy. You need to tell people you're around and share the good work that you're doing, and you need to repeat it over and over and over for as long as you exist as an organization. So marketing is very critical. The more that you can keep yourself out there and talking about what you're doing, the more visibility you get. You grow your reach, and you're able to make a greater impact in your community and beyond. So the big three in terms of why marketing is critical for new and emerging and also food rescue organizations that have been around for a long time is that it really feeds into your platforms that you need to survive as an organization. Going out and doing marketing is going to help you attract your volunteer base. People will see what you're doing and get excited about it and want to be part of it. You're building trust with your donors by telling the stories of the work that you're doing and quantifying the impact. And you're going to get noticed by funders as you continue to be out, whether it's on social media or via your email list or your website, and telling all the great stories about the work that you're doing. I'm going to move forward. And I can't see the chat, but please let me know if there are questions and we can stop anytime and talk about anything. So again, the big marketing myths that you hear over and over: we're too small, we have no budget, marketing is only for big companies. And all of this is understandable, but like at the end of the day, small scrappy teams can still win. And there's a bag of tricks that you can use, even if it's just you and you're doing 100 other things, that's going to help set a nice baseline so that people know what you're doing and want to take part and support you in different ways. Marketing helps build credibility. So generally, if you are on your own making a purchase or interested in interacting with a business, the first thing you do is you check their website. So even having the simplest of websites can help make you look legit. And if you've got a website and a social media platform, if the branding looks the same across them, that's another thing that makes you look like these people are real and they know what they're doing. When you can include things on your website like testimonials from either volunteers and people who've had a good experience with your organization, partner logos, other folks that you're involved with, nonprofit partners or people who are donating food to you, that establishes trust and shows that I will not be the first person being involved with this group. Others have come before me, and this is legit.
Can I add something there? This is small.
Absolutely.
This is my own personal pet peeve because I do a lot of, research into other organizations and to what folks are doing. And if I've come across a website and I can't tell where they're serving or who they're serving, it drives me crazy and I will give up on them. So make sure that it's clear what geography you're serving if you're geographically defined. And if you're not, also make that clear. Really, it's important that folks are able to understand what you're doing, even if they've never heard of you before.
Yeah. And back in my ad agency days, we used to quote building out a website at 10 to 30 to $100,000, depending on the bells and whistles people need. Um, we live in a world now where you can use Canva or Google Sites, all these free tools that will put together a really beautiful, simple site for you that takes about 15 to 30 minutes to put together. So if you have a logo, if you don't have a logo, you can build one in Canva. They have lots of templates. There's a free version of Canva that you can use. So it's very quick to get a very basic website together, but that makes you look 1,000 times more legit and gives you a good anchor for when you're starting out to drive people to that site. So storytelling is a big part of any marketing, and especially I think the stories that we can tell through food rescue are really things that resonate, that pull at the heartstrings, and that make people want to take part in help your support your mission as well. Um, Statistics are out there in terms of knowing in Pittsburgh, 1 in 10 families are food insecure. And um, that's something that can resonate, but really showing a spotlight on a local family or an after school program that you're supporting and how people respond to that support. Things like that really bring it close to home and put the human face on the work that you're doing. So what we do with food rescue here and at 412 is we share these human and mission driven stories over and over and over across all of our platforms. Um, and it's it's going a little bit further than just sharing statistics at the end of the year of like, here's the number of rescues we did and how much carbon we mitigated in the atmosphere. It's really showing the human impact again and again. Um, and we find too that when we're out in the field serving the community, a lot of times people come up to us and they want to share these stories. Um, and sometimes that can be rough if you've got a volunteer or somebody who if an organization or somebody who's benefiting from the donation is saying, hey, I really want to tell you what this means to us or what we got last week, a story about that. Um, we were getting a lot of things like that where our volunteers couldn't in the moment do justice to capturing that story. So one of the things that we added to our 412 Food Rescue website is a very simple share your story contact form, and it's a Google form. It was super quick to put together, but it gave us an email address. I'm sorry, it gave us a URL to share with folks on just like we have a little business card with the link to that page. And so if in the moment somebody has something they want to share and you're not equipped, it lets people go to that page and fill out the form and tell their story. They can upload video or share pictures. And that as you build that collection of stories over time, that's really doing the content marketing job for you. And so even if you are a very lean organization, people want to tell their story. If you're out tabling or you're out in the community, they want to share these stories. And so having a way to capture that quickly, and then when you need a testimonial or you need a specific kind of story to support an appeal or an outreach that you're doing, you'll be able to pull it from that resource. Um, the elements of a good story are always, you establish whether the character is, in our world, it's a volunteer or it's a nonprofit partner or a funder, and what the challenges they were facing and how our work helped change their world for the better. And so that's the basic arc, and there are 1,000 different ways to tell that story. And that's at the end of the day, that's really the content strategy for any food rescue, is just telling that type of story over and over and over. Um, And the stories are all different, but they all really have an emotional impact that drives folks who are interacting with our content to want to support what we're doing. So tell us about the free stuff. That's why you're here. That's why I would be here. Um, Probably when you're just starting out with your food rescue organization or any other business, your budget is probably zero or close to zero. And so I think the advantage that nonprofits and food rescues in particular have is there are programs out there that want to give you free money to get your word out there about your mission, about your impact, and to help you. They will pay for you to tell those stories to the audiences that you're trying to reach. So, in particular, Google Ad Grants is a program that exists for most nonprofits. Food rescues do qualify for this program. There is a website about Google Ad Grants. It's very easy to apply. You fill out a short form, you share your paperwork showing that you're a nonprofit. And after a short decision period, they will open up a Google Ads account for you where you're able to spend up to $10,000 a month. It's free money, it's free advertising. It can be a little fiddly to set up, and there are vendors out there who can give you a hand with that. There are folks here at Food Rescue Hero who can help you with that. Um, but once you get that set up, you can put together ad groups that are specifically about volunteer recruitment, or if you have different events coming up. We just got done with the Pittsburgh Marathon. That's a big fundraising opportunity for us for people to run on behalf of the rescue. And so we did a lot of targeted ads around that. For Food Rescue Hero itself and for product marketing, we used the Google Ad Grants. So no matter what message you're trying to get out, you can use this free advertising to support that. And it's a really amazing resource that I would recommend everyone on this call take advantage of because it's free money and it's awesome. So yay for Google Ad Grants. I mentioned Canva earlier. Canva is a resource that um, it's referred to as kind of a WYSIWYG thing where what you see is what you get. It's very easy for anyone who's not a designer to go in and create a beautiful logo or a really legit looking website or flyers for when you're going to an event and you're tabling and you want to have different calls to action, whether it's, hey, sign up for our newsletter, click on this QR code, sign up to be a volunteer, whatever. Canva, you can create anything, and it's really high quality looking things that help you establish a nice, consistent looking brand without spending any money or bringing in an expensive graphic designer. So I
Okay.
would go on.
I wanted to interrupt because you said you'd take questions live, and there was a question about Google Rants.
Yeah.
And so somebody said that, and I think this is incorrect. So maybe you can explain a little bit the process. She said, it's great, except that you have one shot to meet their standards of using it well, which is back end SEO stuff that I don't know. And that's not true because you can adjust what the search is, what targeted searches are finding your ad or showing your ads, right? I can't
Yeah, I mean, we had
put
an
that in
account
words.
we had an account that was like pretty dormant and not being managed for a couple years, and then we were able to take it from like 10% utilization all the way up to um, the 10K a month just by sitting down and like really auditing our ad groups. And I don't have a lot of background in that, SEO specifically, but you can just kind of test your way into what works for you. Something new that might not have been available if you've tried before and it hasn't worked out for you. Google has recently, within the last month or two, introduced their AI capabilities so into the Google Grant program. So if you put in an idea of what keywords or ad groups or actions you're looking for, their AI creates different ad units for you and optimizes it in real time. That's always the fiddly hard part of managing any kind of Google campaign is like knowing the language, like I'm sure you're referring to, and like having that SEO knowledge. Now you don't need it because their robot does it for you. So that's pretty cool. And we're finding on our end for 412 that the units that are the ones that are optimized with AI are the ad units that are performing the best and getting the most interaction.
And you don't, you can change it every month. You don't have, it's not like you set it once and that's all.
No, you could change. I mean, you could change it every day if you want. You could
Yeah,
go
you
through
can
and
constantly go in and update it. So, if you look at your, and I mean, you won't want to do it every day, but let's say you give something a month and it's not yielding any results, you can play with that. Now, again, as Diane said, the Google, AI should actually take care of some of that for you. But even setting that aside, you can go in and say, well, that's not working. Let me change up the wording.
yeah, it's good stuff. The AI has really been a game changer. Just in a couple months, I've seen like, because you can spend a lot of time figuring out what is the best way to say this where humans will click on it. But now having that generative AI doing the work for you is a game changer when you don't have a lot of humans to spend time figuring that out in great detail. Um, Talked a little bit about Canva, MailChimp. Once you've got a website set up, if you do nothing else except collect email addresses, that will have the biggest value for you down the road is like having a robust email list. And so again, when you're using any kind of a tool that can build a website for you, it can also have a little module that collects emails. And then MailChimp is a good backend, a good email service provider that again can be free or low cost that you can use to then send out email to the emails that you collect via your website. Over time, when you're just getting started, you're having an email list as people come to your site and you don't really have a lot of news to share yet. Um, it lets you stay in touch with people and let them know we're about to launch. We're looking for volunteers, or hey, we just got this new um, partner who's donating these things. Whatever you have coming up, having the email lets you kind of keep in touch with people over time. And then as you're around and you get your list gets more robust, you're able to segment your email list. So then you can send some specific emails just to that volunteer group and send specific emails just to people who are donors or are funders or nonprofit partners. So over time, your email list is going to continue to be your lifeline to continually reach out to people who've raised their hand to hear from you. And when we do tabling or any kind of outside event, we always try to get people to sign up for for the email list if they haven't already signed up, because that's getting that email opt-in once. Then you can go back to them over time and create a relationship and try to get them involved a million different ways. If they're already a volunteer, you can say, hey, volunteer, why don't you donate? Or we've got this event coming up and would you like to buy tickets? So after the building the website, getting the emails is the biggest, most important thing I think a food rescue can do. And using these tools, it doesn't have to cost anything except for the time you put in to set that up. And then the third thing, I guess the fourth thing is social media. I think at a baseline, being on Facebook/Instagram, the Meta channels, that's that would be the first place I would go just to make sure that you're hitting most of your audiences. You'll hit them on those two networks. Over time, if you want to expand and be other places and other channels, you could certainly do that. But if you set up on Facebook/Instagram, um, that's a really good start. And one of the things that you'll want for that is to set up a Linktree account. Again, that's something that's free too. But if you're on Instagram and you see a great picture of a food rescue out at an event and there's a call to action to learn more. Instagram, you can't share links. And so usually people will say, look at the link in the bio. And in your page bio, you would have your link tree, which gives it's a link that people click that will link off to the different content that you're sharing in each post. It lets people go through and click through and find out where is this event or how can I donate to this thing. So it's a free thing to set up, but if you're going to be doing stuff specifically on Instagram, you'll want to set up that Linktree account before you start posting so that you'll be able to get people further involved and to be able to interact with the content that you're posting. Are there any questions on the tools before we go forward? I'm also making sure I'm not talking too much. Social media, we just talked about it, choosing the right platform. And again, you don't need to be everywhere. Big brands don't need to be everywhere. I've worked in like the agency side of life with brands, they want to be everywhere, but it's better to be in just a couple places and to do it well than to be all over everywhere and you're not putting your best foot forward. So again, I would recommend Facebook and Instagram as being where you start. And you don't need to post a lot, even if it's just once a week. It's enough where you have a consistent schedule of content that's going out and people can see what you're up to. The content that really resonates with us on the food rescue side, anything behind the scenes. So if we're setting up or tearing down from an event, if there's a big donation that's coming through, um, sharing pictures of people who work for your organization. Um, and then those success stories that we talked about earlier. Volunteer spotlights are super fun, and you can do the same thing with nonprofit partners, with different people in the organization. Spotlights are fun, and people like to learn more about the people who are making things go. So it's coming up with consistent content is a pretty easy thing to do if you're working food rescue because you're already working with all these people and every person has a good story to tell.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm just going to jump in there, Diane. Maybe you're going to say this already, and I apologize. But so people love to take selfies too. And so just make sure you're monitoring for people that are taking selfies and posting and tagging you and try to make that a thing. We have the advantage because our app lets people take a picture and post it. And so we get a lot of great content that way, but you don't need that. When we started, we didn't have the app and people would take their food rescue selfie and post it and tag us. And that got us a lot of momentum. So your volunteers can help build that momentum.
yeah, which ties into the last point around social, which is just make sure that you engage. If people are commenting, make comments back, follow them, thank them for engaging with you. If folks are tagging you, you can share out what they tagged you in from your branded site to expand the reach of who sees that. Um, People are pretty excited to interact with food rescue organizations, and I follow lots of them. And like, it's a pretty once you're somebody in the community that people recognize, it's the momentum really builds, and so social is a great place to be. And again, it can be cheap and quick. And then once you're doing better and you've been around for a while and they're more established, you can have a dedicated social person if you like, or you can just keep doing it yourself, whatever you like to do. Capturing content on the go, I think I talked about this earlier. Sometimes it can be really hard if you're carrying a bunch of stuff and handing it to somebody. Not the best time. You want to hear their story, but it's not the best time to get that. So everybody is always carrying a phone. You can use it to capture the videos, voice memos if somebody's telling a great story. Um, if volunteers are out doing things, our app will ask people to take pictures of like show us what you rescued, but you don't need an app for that. You could just, when your volunteers are out, you can mention, hey, take pictures and share them back. And collecting stories on your website was something I talked about earlier as well. That just makes it really easy for people to come to you proactively and share their stories. Email marketing basics. And I talked about email a little bit at the beginning. Start collecting your emails now. As soon as you have a website up, collect emails. Even if you're not planning to send anything out um, right away, just building up that database is going to help you a lot as you go on. So collect via a form on your website. When you're out at tabling events, ask people to sign up. You can make it easy for them by having a QR code on a sign that goes to the sign up page on your website. A lot of times I will just ask somebody what their I'll take a laptop to an event and just ask people what their email is and enter it directly because it's easier. Like the easier that you can make it for people, um, getting their email address is gold because then they're yours forever and you're able to create a nice ongoing relationship with them. Here's some email platforms that are free. Um, Costs can get involved as you get bigger and want to do big, crazy things, but just for sending out emails, a MailChimp account you can get for free and it will do everything you need it to do. and some ideas for content like mission updates, things that you need, upcoming events where you need volunteers, or just gratitude and letting folks know some impact stories. Email
How
is
do you
great.
create a QR code?
QR codes, again, there are free QR code creators out there. Um, Gosh, and I'm trying to remember the one I like best.
Canva
When
does it,
you
don't they?
What's up?
Is
Canva
it
can create a QR code for you. Yeah. Um, so Canva, to keep everything in Canva is a good thing. But if you text free QR, if you Google for a free QR code creator, you'll find lots of different things. This is a little bit more advanced, but if you are printing a QR code on an expensive sign that you're going to spend a couple $100s on, like a banner or something that you're going to use for many tabling events, at that point, I would use something called a dynamic QR code. That's something that usually when you set up a QR code, you put in the internet address that you want it to go to. It spits out a QR code for you, and you can slap it on whatever you're using and go on with life. But if it's something expensive, um, doing a dynamic QR code allows you to go into wherever you set up the code later, and if you want to send them to a different page on your website, or if something changed, there's something new that you want to push people to, it allows you to change the destination of where you're sending them. So there's free QR code creators that allow you to set up a dynamic QR code. And I always go for the dynamic one if it's not just a single use QR code, because stuff happens and then you're sad if you spent $300 on a banner and then all of a sudden the QR code doesn't work for you anymore.
Yeah, somebody dropped actually in the Q&A. Make sure that some of the free QR codes generating sites, they're time delimited. They don't
Yeah,
last forever. So just make sure that you understand if there's a time limit on using it too, because there's that $300.
yeah. Okay. And again, I already see, man, I got ahead of myself on everything. Your email list is your most important asset. It is your most important asset. And at the end of the day, as you get a bunch of email addresses, you'll be able to start putting people together in terms of the biggest audiences that you want to send specific types of messages to and have specific calls to action. So here at 412, we have an email address that's just for volunteers, and we send them information every week about here's upcoming volunteer opportunities, or we hit them up with one-off emails sometimes like, wow, we just got this big delivery of X and need someone today. Can you help? Nonprofit partners is the second segment that a food rescue would normally have as one of its main email um, email list, and then donors and funders. So all the folks that you're reaching out to for trying to raise the cash. That's another segment too. And then once you build out and have an advancement or development team, they'll work closely with that list. Just in general, for 412, we send out a monthly email that goes out to our entire list that just tells everything that's going on for the next month. So for the email that's going to go out in a couple weeks for June, we talk about where we're going to be event wise that month, different opportunities we have for volunteers. We have an employee spotlight. We do, we'll write some articles for our website around different timely things that are happening. June is Upcycled Food Month, so we've got some stuff in there about that. So having a regular general newsletter can be a nice way to once a month get in front of all of your stakeholders and just remind them that you're around and give them different, very specific ways to get involved that month.
And having that segmented list can help you tailor your message as well,
Yeah.
because you might send everybody on your list a request for a donation, let's say at the end of the year, a financial donation. But for volunteers, you can tailor how you ask for that. You can say, we appreciate all that you've done as a volunteer. We'd like you to consider, upping your support and helping us achieve what our mission. And that's going to be a little bit of a different message because it's going to acknowledge that they're also a volunteer. And so again, that segment lets you really personalize that message and personalize the ask, which cuts down to on unsubscribes. Because if you just blast everything to everybody and not relevant content, people are much more likely to unsubscribe.
And then just the power of starting small. I know that we've been talking for a half an hour and you're like, this is a lot of stuff. I can't do all this. Sure, you can. You just pick one or two things to focus on first. And so if you don't have a website, that's where you start. If you don't feel that you can set one up for yourself, grab a friend, or I'm sure that there is someone within your realm who can sit down and help you out with that. It's a pretty quick, but very critical thing to have a website as your place to begin with. And then once your website is up and um, you're you have something in place where you can collect emails, just start small. Like, okay, Instagram, I'm going to post one thing and see how it does. And then I'll wait a week or a month and post something else. Like you can take it slow and small. And I think the fun thing about marketing too is just like try. You put stuff out there, some of it people love and it really resonates. The things you think are going to do great, people don't, not necessarily. And then just goofy things sometimes go wild. And when something like that happens, then you learn, okay, this type of content is something that I want to do more of. Um, Creating any type of content, I know if you're a team of one, that's still it's to sit down and write something and have an image, even if you're using Canva or whatnot, it can still take time. So like I'm a big believer in once you create a piece of content, you can use it over and over in a lot of different ways. Here, if we write an article for the website, like the upcycled food, when we put that together, we'll also do a social post about it. Um, we'll feature it in our newsletter. We'll once it exists, we can grab little parts of it and use it 100 different ways. So like you create something once and try to use it again and again. And that's what'll help you keep your sanity and to be able to keep up with all the content that you'll want to put out there. Putting it all together. If you're feeling brave, like start with like a 30-day mini marketing plan. We have just to kind of keep on top of everything message wise that we have going out. We keep a really simple monthly calendar that shows here's the main things we're going to talk about in our newsletter. Here's what we're going to email folks about by target. Here's some of the main social posts that we want to make sure that we make knowing the things that we have going on this month. Um, Over time, as you have more resources or more time, you can put together more lofty goals around a marketing plan and break that out by audience. But at the end of the day, just if you do what you can, and then at the end of the month, just kind of take a look and see what's working, what's not, what do I want to do more of, and then just repeat. And that's the best way that you can get started marketing when you have no money and no people, but it'll get you there over time. Quick wins. Try one of these today. You could apply for the Google Ad Grant or just read more about it. You could set up a Linktree account. There's a link in here for Instagram if you're wanting to play around on that site. Schedule one social post just to see what it does for you. Building the story submission form on your website. It's just an easy Google form. If you email one of us, we can send you our form and you can copy it and put it on your site. But tiny little things that don't take a lot of time, but then the more of them you can do, it'll build up over time to support your mission and help you make the biggest impact. Any questions?
There was one question in chat, and it was from our partner at Northern Virginia Food Rescue. They're facing the issue that their Google ad account went dormant, and there was a switch up in staff, and so they're trying to figure out how to get it restarted and be able to get into it. Do you have any advice for them on that? Because actually, you faced some similar challenges when you came in.
When I
We
came
had
in.
not touched our Google grants for years, and you had to figure all of that out. So,
Yeah, the bad Google ad accounts are tied to specific humans in your organization. And so for everything for most platforms and things that are email based, we put together a marketing at 412 Food Rescue that so regardless of who come and goes and what happens, everybody can get in. Google is tied into a specific human, so they do have a support email. I worked at Google, so I know that it's sometimes can take a very long time to hear back from a support email at Google. But I did find coming in and reaching out to that email that's available on the website and letting them know that people changed. I heard back from somebody in a week or two and was able to get the right accounts set up. So I think I had to email them 3 or 4 times, but eventually somebody got back to me. So I would just say be persistent, because that is really unfortunate. That's so hard for any marketing team when somebody leaves because so much stuff is tied into those specific emails.
All right. What other questions do we have from folks? Either about some of the tools that Diane mentioned, maybe something that you heard is a good idea, but you're not sure about content. I will say that next month, our webinar, which is going to be talking about volunteers, and we're including board members in that because board members are volunteers. But you know who else can volunteer for you? Web designers and people who are marketers and things like that. So, another trick of the trade is to look for volunteers who have those specific skills that you don't have. Jake from Chicago Food Rescue asked, what are some of the more successful volunteer engagement strategies you've seen?
Volunteer engagement strategies. Um, Trying to come up with a specific story. We have done, as an organization, we've reached out to some of our longtime volunteers or just people who are very passionate, and we've done some videos and longer form video content and shorter testimonial snippets with volunteers that we have on our website to share the reasons to believe around volunteering and why people can feel comfortable doing that. And also just to show people how volunteering works. Um,
Yeah, I want to say, especially as a startup, one thing, and Diane, actually, as a volunteer, as a startup volunteer, you can speak from that as well. I think one of the things that helped us gain momentum early on was um, number one, people were buying into our mission. But number two, we were posting pictures of people doing rescues. We
yeah.
were making it clear how easy and fun they were. Those volunteer selfies, I'm sure we actually have some early Diane Walter volunteer selfies. Posting those to show people, regular people doing rescues, because
Yeah.
the public, when potential volunteers can see themselves reflected in the pictures you're posting, they, even if they're a little bit nervous, will think, oh, okay, yeah, maybe I could do that.
Yeah, and in beginning times, social media was how 412 got people to volunteer. It was, we have these things today. Is anyone available to pick something up from here? And that's how it was done. And it was Facebook and Messenger, and it was very, kind of using the platform in that very specific way to grow that volunteer base. And if you're new, it works.
Yeah. And actually, Lisa Barden posted that their most productive volunteer marketing was a PSA on their local NPR station. And actually, media is a very effective way to get volunteers. One of the challenges with that is that hits a huge population, and you may get so many people wanting to volunteer that you don't have enough rescues for them. And we found that that has been a turnoff for volunteers. When we early days, when got some really great press, and we had a bunch of people sign up to volunteer in what's known as Pittsburgh South Hills, but we didn't have any rescues there. And it really burned them out. We got some people that we got angry emails like, I wanted to volunteer, but there's nothing here. People posted on our Facebook page. So that's another thing to think about, is you have to strike that balance between making sure that you have enough for all the volunteers to do, and bringing in volunteers to the org. What other questions are there? I think marketing is fun. I'm just going to say it. Like, I know not everybody loves it, but to me, this is kind of the fun, playful part of work. You get to talk about what you're doing, you get to talk to your volunteers. Most of us are already on social media with some regular cadence, and so it feels a little bit more organic, say, than digging into a spreadsheet. Although I love a spreadsheet too. Uh,
The other thing I would say too is that, I mean, I know in the beginning, especially when you're just putting the organization together, it might just be you and you're the only human. But as soon as you start getting that network of volunteers, of nonprofit partners, everyone who's involved, they're marketers too. Your board are great marketers for you. Everybody who's doing something to support the mission, they can speak out on your behalf on their own social media and talk to their own networks. And so when you start seeing everybody involved in the organization as part of your marketing team, it puts less pressure on you, and it also makes a lot more things possible and really helps expand the knowledge of what you're doing and your impact.
Yeah, Jake posted in the chat that he likes the idea of asking volunteers to film themselves doing a rescue. That is absolutely a really great way to get marketing content because number one, you don't have to do it.
Yep.
You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to do anything. You've got a volunteer doing it. Number two, it is very helpful to show how easy this is to do. It helps with what I was talking about earlier, getting folks to see that this is something that they can manage. And number three, it's a fun and it can be kind of a sassy piece of media, right? You do a like a carpool karaoke type style video if you get the right person to do it. So it's a really great and easy lift when it comes to marketing for volunteers. Oh, another cue. Are there ever any concerns about protecting the anonymity of nonprofits? And if so, how do you navigate this? I can answer that.
Generally, I mean,
Go ahead.
if we're going to feature somebody on the website, it's or within our social media, it's going to be somebody that we have an established relationship with who would be comfortable with that. When you're just building up your relationships with folks, it never hurts to check with them like, hey, would you mind if we gave you a shout out on social media? Um, and definitely on the partner side, in terms of folks who are receiving, I would never tell an impact story without running it past that person first, or unless they volunteered the story, because
Yep.
that is, you know, that's, you don't want to tell somebody's story if they don't want to share it.
100%. And same for photos. If we ever share a photo of somebody at a nonprofit partner site, somebody that's receiving food, we have their permission to do so. We're not just posting that without making sure that it's okay with them. And that's a really good point. You want to be really respectful, especially of the people that are receiving food, preserving their dignity, and not sort of using them uh, as a emotive piece of marketing um, without their permission. So
That's a great question. That's a great point.
yeah, it really is. And I think that a lot of times, especially in terms of volunteering, that sort of feel good marketing with volunteers picking up food and having a good time is very impactful and is probably more impactful and more motivating for people to do something than um, trying to uh, there's a word I want to use and I'm not going to use it. Take advantage of people who are facing food insecurity. Um, are there any other questions? I think that just to sort of wrap up here as we go, unless anybody has any more questions, the key thing is marketing is fun and it should be fun. And finding the folks that are in your volunteer pool or on your staff who enjoy doing it is super helpful. Hopefully, if you're starting up, you can find the ways of doing it that appeal to you, that you think are fun, and really leverage those. You don't have to do everything right off the bat. You don't have to have the perfect media. Oh, and the other thing I wanted to say that I thought of earlier is you can design a logo in Canva, but if there's one place I would suggest potentially investing some funding in, it would be in your logo design because you're going to have that for a while. Rebranding is kind of a pain in the butt. So either find a volunteer designer that can work with you on that, or maybe that's somewhere to dedicate some resources. But most things aren't permanent and you can edit as you go, but there's a few things like your name and your logo that you're going to stick with for a while. So be really thoughtful about those before you set them in stone. Um, Lisa said another inexpensive idea was to create stickers for our food donors to put in their windows. Yep. They say we are proud to help keep Austin fed. We have window clings we do that with. That's a really great idea. Um,
Stickers when we are tabling out at public events, people love stickers. And they put them on their water bottles, and then they're a walking advertisement. Oh, what is that? Tell me about. How can I get involved?
yeah. Jake said he spent 150 to $200 on Chicago Food Rescue's logo, which I really like. So, yeah, there's definitely thinking about where it's worth investing that money and where it's not. And there's going to be people that try to sell you really expensive consulting and services. Be really thoughtful about where you put that investment. Sometimes it's worth it, sometimes it's not, and you don't want to put your early funding towards something that you can do yourself that you don't really need at that moment.
Yeah,
Yep,
specifically
magnets.
around web design. People will charge you a lot of money to design your website, and you just don't need that. Even if you have a one-page website, as long as it tells your story, that's all you need.
Yeah, yeah. Temporary tattoos are fun as well. All right. Well, I think unless anybody has any more questions, Diane, do you have the next slide for the
Let's
next
see.
webinar?
Next month.
Yes. Yes, building the strong board and volunteer team. And again, one of the things we're going to talk about is the fact that volunteers aren't just the people who are doing your food rescue, they're your board members, they're your web designers. So we're going to talk about how to find those volunteers, how to get them on board, and how to keep them happy as you get started next month. All right. Do we have a link by any chance for next month?
That'll come out in the email.
Okay. And
Um,
then we're also going to talk next month about navigating the new federal realities, strategies for food rescue resilience. And I know that a lot of us have lost grants or are facing a really difficult funding situation right now. And we're going to talk about some of the ways that food rescue organizations can and are meeting those challenges. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for being here. We will see you next month, I hope. We will email you out the recording in a couple of days with a link for the next few webinars. And if you're going to ReFed, make sure you visit our table and say hi. Bye, everyone.